Hello and welcome to Device Squad, the podcast for the mobile enterprise from Propelics. And we are going to be recording live today from the AI World Conference and Expo in lovely downtown Boston, our fair city. We'll be joined by the rest of our Boston team, Adam, Scott, Gina, Alani, Carl, and John Kennefic. It's kind of weird to be covering AI in an audio format, but I'll do the best I can, and we'll try to show you what's new in AI. Device Squad, fighting crimes against enterprise mobility worldwide. Bad UI, frustrating user experiences, poorly conceived mobile strategies, we defeat them all. This podcast series will cover all aspects of enterprise mobility, including strategy, development, design, testing, and more. My name is Steve Brickman. I'm a mobile strategist and UX architect with Propelics. First, a brief history of the company. Founded in 2011, Propelics is a mobile strategy consultancy helping enterprises worldwide devise true mobile strategies and develop world-class mobile applications across all industry verticals. Propelics clients include large companies like Amway, Bright Horizons, Bank of Montreal, Dubai Airports, Family Dollar, DLL, Cintas, Merck, and many more. Propelics' menu of services includes 8 different mobile kickstarts, covering everything from mobile strategy and road mapping to MCOE to UI UX design to mobile testing strategy, along with soup to nuts app design development and support. Additionally, Propelics offers 3 homegrown enterprise mobile products. This looks good. Yeah. Looks very enterprisey, doesn't it? Just the layout, the names.
So we plan to have it,
I'm not seeing a lot of weird, futuristic AI things happening. Kind of booths, displays, tables. Cogentics. Practical AI. See, there you go. It's all about... I think that's what it is. AI is such a mystery to everybody. They're trying to convince people how it can be used. Semiconductor, energy laboratory. They're still in the phase. It's like augmented reality, right? They're still trying to convince people that it's useful. Veritone. Have you heard of any of these companies?
No, but I know him.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cobalt Speech and Language. Sapient Razorfish.
Like I said earlier, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah.
CIO.
Yeah.
That's our work.
Oh, here's all the Watson stuff.
So we're showing off Power on this side, and then Watson on the other side. So Power, you might have heard, we sold off our x86 business a couple years ago. Don't do that anymore. But now we actually take the same architecture that we're doing to mainframes and everything else for distributed for everything else in the world. Turns out it kicks ass for deep learning workloads, AI, all that stuff.
Sure.
So 4 to 6x per socket better. So that's what we're doing now, partnering with people like NVIDIA and Velodox and everyone else to any systems that need a lot of I/O.
So is it anything like the commercials where
You seen Power commercials or Watson
No,
commercials?
the Watson commercials.
I was going to say you seen Power commercials. Wow, they finally appreciate us. No, yeah, the Watson. Sorry. Lots of Watson commercials, and they're good.
Yeah.
And they're good.
Yeah.
They're good, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
It's deceptive at all where, it's just this, device that just chimes in with a perfectly natural conversation.
Here's the thing. I think IBM, my feeling, and I'm a new IBMer. I've been IBM a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
But my feeling is that everyone else is kind of Johnny-come-lately to AI, right? IBM's kind of doubled down on this a while back, years ago. Beat Jeopardy almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And was, so yeah, so I think it's finally as it's touching everyone's business, and as all other companies start to learn how to spell AI, it makes sense that IBM's going to double down on showing not only can we spell it, we've been selling it. We've been doing it for 10 years, so, and that's what we're seeing, I think.
That's amazing. And is it all like neural network stuff? Or?
Well, so I can't really speak to the Watson architecture. I can speak to our architecture on power.
Yeah.
So what we're doing on power is, of course, we're taking the best neural networks out there. So Caffe, TensorFlow, you name it. We're not picking sides, right? We're taking all of them, but we're optimizing them all for power, right? We're optimizing them. So the thing is that those are highly parallel, architectures.
Yeah.
So they do really well on GPUs, but they don't spend their whole life on GPUs. They go back and forth, right? If you've got an operating system wrapped around it, and you've got some kind of workflow using them, you're going to go CPU to GPU, CPU to GPU. You're going back and forth, right? And when you do that, that's where power goes really well. Because we've got like 5 to 6 times the pipe between CPU and GPU that they have. The other thing that having a big pipe like that lets you do, and this is the most important thing, is it allows you to use system memory from your GPU. So otherwise, the size of your model, right, is limited to the amount of GPU memory you have, unless you want to run at about a quarter the performance, right? Because that's what you have to do. If you start using system memory from the GPU side, you got a PCIe 3 bottleneck, right? So it's like that's your either small models or deal with a bottleneck. But with us, you don't have to do that, because the fact that our pipe between our CPU to GPU pipe is it's bigger than Intel's CPU to memory pipe. So there is no penalty, right? So that's a big thing for us.
Do you have a specific partner use case that you can speak to?
There's the massive one. So the biggest computer in the world, right? What's going to be the biggest computer in the world? Summit supercomputer for Coral. That's what they're doing. So they're going to have 3 exaflops of AI as a service as part of it. So they're going to be in the top 500. They're going to be number 1, hopefully, once everything. But that benchmark's kind of old, the old Impact benchmark. But they're going to be number 1 again. But yeah, so we're working very closely with them on some scale models. But that's very large traditional electronics company that's doing AI at the next Olympics. They're going to do facial recognition. We can't use their name yet, but that's a model that they're doing on power. You can imagine thousands of cameras around the Olympics and lots of facial recognition going on there. Come back to me then. A little bit later when I get. Yeah, we had our launch last week, and I was scrambling to get people to announce. And I got some of them that were able to do it anonymously, but not a whole lot. They were able to jump up and say, because you got to realize this platform we launched last week. Now the Power 8, the version was around before that, right? So we have plenty of examples of that, but I'm just trying to find examples of people that are using Power 9.
Sure.
So they were early adopters that have already begun. That's why you can't actually buy one probably till like the second quarter, because we've sold so many of them right now. We're pre-sold. So our factory's like churning them out as fast as possible, but they're all pre-sold right now.
Thanks a lot. Mike Burrows?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And you're a developer, marketing?
Marketing.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks a lot.
So, Watson, is it anything like the commercials? I think that's my first question.
I don't think I can answer that.
You can't answer that? Why is that?
Well, can you put it in context?
You see the commercial. The Watson has a very distinct personality. It's sitting on the desk and it's engaging in conversation. It seems.
Perhaps you can answer it and tell him what Watson Conversation does.
Yeah.
Okay, so Watson essentially is a suite of APIs, right? All about like human sensations and so on. So this app I have here is called Watson Conversation. It's about teaching bots to have a conversation and so on. So building a chatbot. So the Watson APIs are about that.
That's very cool. So is Watson out there? It can be purchased. It's already available.
Yeah, so we have a cloud platform called IBM Cloud. It used to be called Bluemix. And so you can just create instances of our services from there.
Can you talk about like who's using it and how it's being used in the industry?
So we have some public client references. Yeah, within Conversation, so chatbots essentially. Autodesk is a publicly referenceable one. So they have a customer support bot and help answer first level like support questions and so on. So.
And is it like audio, or is it, when we're talking about chatbots, is it text or is it audio?
It can be both. Yeah. So for conversation, it's text, and then we have speech APIs that you can put on both ends of it to make it voice-based.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So you're probably familiar with chatbots already.
Yeah.
This is just kind of an application, just demoing like what an intent is and so on and how it works. So I'll just go through it kind of briefly, and then just let me know if I can just move forward to the tooling if you like. So within this, imagine it's a car agent. So this has been built out already. So it's saying, what would you like me to do today? And you can the user gives a response back. So you can say something like, I see it's raining, so turn the wipers on. So essentially, what the system is doing is it's understanding the intent is that it wants to turn something on. And then we have another feature called entities that's picking up the word wipers. And so specifically, the user wants to turn the wipers on. So it's a very simple way of just picking up what the user wants to do. And then within my application, I act upon that and then actually turn the wipers to go back and forth.
Right, sure.
Yeah, so that's just kind of... Go ahead.
Like, is your goal to have more natural voice interaction, or are you shooting for text interaction, or both equally? Like, do you have?
Yeah, so I think for my product, because we have the speech APIs kind of separate, we generally focus on text interactions.
On text more, yeah. Sure.
But I definitely see the value in both.
Yeah, sure.
And I see them a lot. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And all right, so what's next?
Yeah, so just kind of like a more complex flow. Then after that is things like, I'm hungry.
Within the 1 minute.
And then they go ahead and say, okay, do you have a specific cuisine in mind? So demonstrating, you can go through multiple turns with the user and say burgers. And it says, sure, five locations that we should like me to go to. So essentially, you're collecting multiple pieces of information, so then you can act upon it, which here would be recommending a restaurant and so on.
And kind of the differentiator is like the contextual intelligence, right? I mean, like if you tell Siri you're hungry and then you say burgers, it's not going to link the burgers back to the I'm hungry comment. So
yeah, so I would definitely say it's tough within Siri. Like, they do an amazing job. They have like so much they have to accomplish, right?
Yeah,
Sure. Anything that could come in there. Whereas generally, I think our customers have like a more specific use case, so you can come in with your data and train it, and kind of be able to build out some specific responses. Yeah.
So do you how many of your clients will come to you and then you'll utilize their data versus clients that will just utilize your sort of generic data set that already exists?
Mainly the first, yeah.
The first one, their own data set?
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's kind of what I'm learning a lot today. Like, everybody seems to almost be like duplicating sort of a lot of the services, and a lot of these, there's like a lot of discrete data sets that are being generated. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder, with APIs, everybody will access everybody else's data set. You think that's what's going to happen eventually, or?
Personally, I hope not. I mean, I'd like to keep my data. And so I think that people will try to kind of get there in the future, but I think also, like you're seeing with GDPR and the EU, I think that there's going to be a lot more regulation that comes in, and so to kind of make sure that you're taking good care of data and so on.
Yeah. So I guess I'm still like a little confused about why there need to be these discrete data sets. Like, I mean, isn't like language data is language data is language data? I don't understand how does it differ from one to another?
Can you clarify a bit more?
Well, if I'm gathering data from a restaurant or something, essentially it's all going to be like English language, and so the meanings are all the same. So I don't really get, maybe it's because I don't understand what kind of data you're trying to extrapolate from the data
yeah,
been given.
I guess what it sounds like is okay, I have this general data set. Why do I need anything specific?
Yeah, why can't you generalize that?
Yeah, so I guess you can. I just think that it's not as accurate as if you give kind of like a specific, this is what my users are actually saying, and so on, and that'll train the algorithms in the best way. So I would say that it provides like a more contextualized, accurate answer when you kind of bring your own data.
Nice anyway. Cool. Hey, Chris, thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate your time and so on.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. That was IBM Watson. All right, let's see this thing. Data robot enabling the AI-driven enterprise. Interesting. How you doing? What do you guys do?
We're Dow Jones, and so we have a collection of content sources, 30,000 global news sources with a 30-year archive of data. So a lot of the archive data doesn't exist anywhere in the world at this time. So if you're looking for data to prove out a particular theory, we can provide you with that historical information. Then going forward, we can provide you with either delayed or real-time information on an ongoing basis if you want to continue to use news as a part of your application. It's fully tagged with our own proprietary metadata. We tag it with news, company symbols, news subjects. We cover 2,400 regions. It comes in 28 different languages. So it's really information if you require external information.
I'm just recording for a podcast I do for my company.
Oh, okay.
New technology.
Is that a recorder?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's
You're
neat.
Eddie Kim?
I'm Eddie Kim.
Sales specialist.
Okay, awesome. You need a picture, or should I
It's all
tell you a
audio,
little bit about my life, my family?
Whatever you feel like doing.
You want an autograph? You want a selfie with me, guys? Like I'm kind of famous. All right, well, have a good day, guys. Okay, take care. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Jared Green at Dow Jones. I'm a customer solutions engineer. So what we do at Dow Jones is we've aggregated over the past 30-some years. We've aggregated the world's news as a premium data set.
And you've been around for a while.
We've been a while. So we were obviously the publisher of the Wall Street Journal. We're on the stock market, but that's not our company anymore. We don't manage that label. A lot of people don't know that. Like when people said, when I told people I started working at Dow Jones, like, oh, you just hit the ticker, right? You make it go up and down. Like, no, S&P manage that. Anyway, so what we've done over the past year, actually, this product launched recently, is we've realized we've had this wealth of information that's driven our own business, our own B2B products, and now we wanted to take that data and deliver it to clients, ultimately. So we call it DNA, Data News Analytics, but the idea here is that with this data source, we can extract large amounts of content. So the data source is now probably around 1.5 billion articles, but now we can deliver that content through API, so millions of articles through an API, and allow clients to ingest in their own kind of data set. So the example you actually see in front of you is a data set that was extracted from our SQL style database in BigQuery, and then transformed to a Neo4j interface and database, and ultimately allows clients to interact via a few high-level questions as a proof of concept.
So what is this showing us right now?
Great question. So the high-level question, the query was, how were different companies affected by Hurricane 2017? The two nodes that probably jump out was three of them, really. Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Harvey, and Hurricane Maria down here. But you can kind of see the various companies. Obviously, the high level is going to be insurance companies. There's some health companies, so somewhere in there's CVS for people that got hurt.
Do you go all your own data, or do you go out wider?
Yeah, great question. So this is all news data. That's the interesting part about this, because you see a lot of numbers there. You actually see losses. You see how much money was probably made as well. And, every catastrophe that happens. There's bonds. You see catastrophe bonds that pop out. So it's the interesting part that this is literally just news data. There's a wealth of information here, and this was over just the past year, and we've refined the number of articles to a really minute amount. So it's 200K articles versus past year articles probably would have been around couple hundred million. So
you click through on these?
Yeah, exactly. So if I were to click through, if there's something interesting, we could talk about Heritage Insurance Holdings. So then maybe I click it, and we suddenly see all this information about Heritage. So we know Bruce Lucas is the CEO through one of the articles or a few articles. We see what their value was in Florida because of what happened. So we see catastrophe bonds from consumer goods and from the reinsurance program. So this is really interesting. If I was a Swiss Re, for instance, or another reinsurer, a large reinsurer, I can look at this data immediately and know how the web of what my competitors are talking about or who I should invest in the future. So Heritage Insurance lost lost $1.7 billion, or another company maybe lost $70 billion, maybe. So that's JetBlue because of all the airlines, I guess all the flights that they canceled. Another one that pops out, which is interesting because it doesn't really fit in the whole perspective of what's going on. I think JetBlue is interesting, but also Spirit Airlines. I believe JetBlue and Spirit both were flying people for free outside of Florida. So that was like announced, that was in the news. But everything else in here is mostly insurance companies and health companies. So it's interesting that these two pop out. Carnival Cruise Lines pops out too. So from a high level perspective, this is providing information around the news. We see news at Dow Jones, and this is how it's labeled in the data set as event data. So event data is kind of critical when you're providing some other means of data or analysis, because you need something that's a source of truth that actually creates functional meaning. So, yeah.
How are most of your clients using the data?
Yes, a great question. So there's a lot of different ways that people kind of take news and apply to their own business means. Supply chain is a common item. So a client might take this kind of application, but then build it directly with supply chain data. So by using news, I can kind of see that there might be civil unrest, like for instance in Catalina in Spain, right? There's civil unrest there. If I was in Portugal and I was shipping goods to Germany, and maybe I was originally going to ship it through a trucking company that was based out of Catalina, I might see what's going on there through the news as an issue. And that's hard to do with anything with your supply chain, right? Well, maybe 20 years ago, some civil unrest happened similarly, and we saw a bunch of strikes happen immediately after. So immediately taking that historical data, so this data set goes back since 1980s, I could take that, build a propensity score, and then ultimately plug that into what's going on in Spain right now to know the chance of likelihood that my truck lines might shut down, and I might want to fly that. And I can immediately apply that. Another obvious answer is news is going to be related to the stock market. So people are hedging their bets based on bonds or high-yield bonds and kind of trying to figure out when those companies most likely will go bankrupt. You might relate that kind of to an Altman Z-score. So like take common score and then behoove that with news data. Sales enablement is a really critical one. I think it's very interesting. So part of this data set, this is thousands of resources or sources of news. There might be a low-level article from the middle of nowhere, Michigan, that talks about this technical company that had an issue with Oracle. And it might be reported in a local paper, maybe even a regional paper, but it might not make its way all the way to New York Times. Well, if I'm in sales and that's my region, I'd be very curious about what's going on with Oracle and how can I do that. So as a sales enablement tool, it's very powerful.
How are you selling this software?
Yeah, so it's API based. Yeah, it's subscription based, and it's about a number of articles because we pay royalties back to all these guys, and by number of extractions to detect me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, unlimited utility.
Yeah, that's the idea. The idea is that we want clients, we built our own custom products on this, and some of it's risk and compliance, some of it's research-based, but the idea there, really why it's called DNA, is we want to take Dow Jones' own DNA and plug it into clients, and it's the ultimate partner solution, right? And they can build their own applications.
So the API people will put in the query?
Yeah, exactly. So it plugs directly into our Google BigQuery backend, and it's going on to S3 soon. But basically, the query system allows you to get the number of articles, analytics around the articles as well, and then ultimately we want the client to extract the data and put it in their own database and own projects.
So depending on how many you get back or how many then you go deeper to try to get more data?
How much you actually downloaded, because ultimately that's the way we've signed these contracts through our partners is the number of articles extracted.
So it'll tell you first before you pick what you want to download? Okay.
Yeah, and then the analytics around it. So maybe you want like group by month how many articles were about hurricanes. And then you might say, okay, I only want articles published before 2007. Okay. And that the idea here is also
about Puerto Rico or only articles about
so there's a lot of metadata around it. So it's not just the raw text. The raw text is included, but we provide a high level aboutness to the article. So company codes, region codes, industry codes, subject codes, people codes. Some of that was used to build this.
Cool.
Jared, thanks a lot. Research? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Come on down.
Hey, I'm recording for a podcast.
Oh, that's
New
awesome.
Technology.
That's awesome. So we're a strategic advisory firm. We focus on emerging technologies across a wide array of different areas. Obviously, for this event, we're looking at digital transformation of industry. So we'll cover everything from, IoT to blockchain to autonomous systems to artificial intelligence. But what we do is we write primary research on the topics, and then we also scout for companies developing disruptive technologies. So we'll typically profile, small startups, medium-sized companies, and then we'll write profiles on them that are then available via our member site. and then our clients have access to those companies. So our clients are typically Fortune 500 companies or Innovation 1000, and they might have interest in these companies as partners or suppliers or acquisition targets. So we really help bring the two together, and then also conduct, as I said, primary research across those given topic areas. So very interesting.
Very cool.
For sure.
So kind of like Forrester, but with more engagement with the
A big difference I would say is that we really look at things through science-based approach. All of our analysts are scientists and engineers by background and training, because when we're out scouting for companies developing disruptive technologies, we really want to make sure we can get under the hood and really determine whether or not we think this is going to be disruptive technology and help feed that back to our clients. And then I think the other part that sets us apart is the fact that we're doing the scouting of these companies as well. There aren't a lot of other companies that get out there, and this isn't going out and just scraping publicly available information. We're going and we're interviewing the CEOs, the executive teams of these companies, and we're going through an extensive interview process, looking at both the technology and the business makeup of the company, so that we can provide a full-rounded profile to our clients in terms of whether or not they might be interested in working with the company.
Sure.
So it's fun stuff.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Cool.
Kevin, thanks a lot.
Hey, nice talking to you guys.
What's happening in AI? Any must-see booths yet?
Well, we just really got started, like 15 minutes
free
ago.
robots or anything?
Little tiny wooden robots over there.
Little wooden robots.
Probably
Thinking about
IBM
the
Watson, IBM Power, which is
But like very enterprise focused.
right.
Good.
Yeah, you don't
I think we
see
should see what's real in AI and what's
Exactly.
fake.
Yes.
What actually could happen with for some of our clients.
Yeah. What's real?
What's real?
Like this kind of thing. Practical AI, a lot of that kind of language everywhere.
Right.
Enterprise AI is over there. There's like a whole enterprise AI. Dell EMC. Alana used to work there. You just mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what they're doing in the AI space, but I know for a fact that they have all the storage devices and everything of that sort to support this space, so it's definitely something to look into.
There's kind of an even mix of like hardware and software here.
I think so. I think, I don't know, I think the layout of the company is just kind of interesting because you have a company like Dell, but then you have right next to it Forrester, which aren't really in the same space, but interesting to see what they're doing together,
Yeah. A lot of this kind of stuff where it's like, what do they do? I don't know what they do based on what I'm reading here.
The only thing they do is organizing information to drive measurable business outcomes.
They organize data yearly. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, you want to take a look at this?
Sure. Knowledge engineering for chatbots. That's what's confusing. It doesn't say chatbot anywhere on there.
Buzzwordy too. Knowledge engineering.
Yeah.
You engineer knowledge.
They do it, man.
Thank you. An enterprise ontology.
Ontology.
Hi.
I've never used that word, ontology.
What do you guys do?
We are the ones who would structure your knowledge to make your chatbots or AI successful. So for AI to work correctly, you need to have the information structured correctly. So that information is something that we structure. We have the foundational principles. So we are specialists in knowledge management. Been there for almost 25 years now. So Seth Early, I have to send this is a great piece to hold on to. This is a reference in MIT review. So Seth Early is he's a IEEE peer editor as well. So he's a thought leader in the whole knowledge management, information architecture space. So like I said, we build that foundational framework for self-service or AI-driven bots. Could be chatbot, could be information retrieval system. So we structure that information so that the correct information, correct for context, intent, everything is sent out to the asker. So,
Interesting. I'm just recording for a podcast that I do on emerging technology and so forth.
So yeah, I mean, if to put it very, in a layman's word, I would say we make bots smarter by making sure that information of the organization, the content or the data is structured correctly.
I see.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't have want to chat with a chatbot sending you wrong information or understanding your intent, right? So yeah, this is pretty much that. So you need to have that foundational principle of curating content. We have algorithms, we have tool set that would bring it all together and make sure the foundation is correct.
And your name is Lena?
My name is Lena Medhi. I'm the business partner. Basically, I look after the whole business development and customer engagements. I do have my team members, but they are not here around right now.
So there's AI built into your systems?
No. So we build we help. So the first is your IA. There is no AI without IA. So your IA is first. That is your information architecture is first. That fuels your AI. So that is how you train your AI. So that's the first step. IA is the first step. Yeah.
The integration.
Yeah.
So you can have any knowledge base?
Yeah, I mean, it can be on SharePoint.
Like SharePoint. And then this sits on top of a SharePoint.
That's right. So
helps.
curating it really for, like I said, intent, utterances, context, so a lot of that. So we have our experts who would find the intent, empathy mapping as well to understand, what's there, who's asking why, and what is the intent. Really build that in algorithms and then feeding into... and really the bot is not a big challenge. The challenge is the knowledge itself.
Right.
A lot of chatbots have failed because we were not able to really channel the right information out to customers, internal agents, could be many things.
Do you have a use case that you can speak to?
Yeah, so we have worked with Allstate Business Insurance. So we have implemented it's right at the back of this one. So we have implemented their internal personal lines agents bot. So we won this award, the KM Realty Allstate Business Insurance Award for the chatbot called Abby, that is Allstate Business Insurance Expert. So it's for the internal use, though you wouldn't see it on the website. The website is something else. I mean, we haven't worked on that one, but the foundation is the same. So that is one use case, and we work with Applied Materials, helping the field engineers with the queries that come in. So really, call deflection is one of the use case, I would say, where our work really helps in terms of structuring that data, finding that. So that is one, if you were looking at something very specific to chatbots. But really the foundational elements are, I would say, knowledge management, correctly managing and engineering the knowledge of the organization. I mean, we can work with an IBM Watson, or we can work with a Google API.ai. It could be various other platforms that are available. There are a lot of startups as well to who help have these platforms.
So is that a matter of filtering out non-essential, non-relevant data?
Cleansing is one part of it, yes, but a large part of it is really understanding your users' intent. I mean, how do you do that? You would have to have some sort of interviews, maybe stakeholder interviews, understanding different use cases, like why would a customer call, what could be various things, finding that intent. So it's a lot of human to human, I would say, interaction that helps. I mean, filtering is one part of it, yes, but not really the bigger challenge.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are iMerit?
Yes, iMerit.
Human Empowered Computing. All right, what do you guys do?
What's your good idea?
We developed a private crowd of employees, in-house employees, to become experts on annotating and labeling to create the training data for your model, so that the garbage in, garbage out issue is not a problem anymore, but you have high-quality training data so that your models are actually trained on good stuff. Okay, so there's a social mission. We're a for-profit company, but a social enterprise. So while we focus on
helping our customers save money and get high quality data and grow our own business, our employees. Our sourcing model is unique. We're partnering with a nonprofit that helps marginalized young men and women who have made the decision to improve their situation in life, get jobs. So a lot of these folks, candidly might have grown up living below the poverty line in their families, went through high school, and then no one in the family ever had an office job. So they go through this training program at the nonprofit we're partnered with, and they get more robust skills on how to use computers, and we teach them really specialized skills on like how to tag cars in an image. You don't need to know everything, but if you know this one thing really well, the human brain today is like it was hunter-gatherer times. It's still a very good computer. We get these motivated people, and they come in and they become experts at all these different micro tasks.
So you're talking about labeling as a way to like assist AI to identify image things in it.
We call it AI-enabled services.
It's kind of like a crowdsourcing effort? Or?
Yeah, it's like a blend of a traditional crowdsourcing and outsourcing model. Yeah, so we partner with companies like Crowdflower and other large crowd platform companies, but it's a managed service, so more professionally managed with account managers, project managers, and a custom solution with a dedicated team. So unlike a crowd where there might be anonymous people, you might not get the same people every day. We have people come in for 8-hour shifts that are employees on salaries with benefits that will get better and better at your data and your task because they come in every day for the next 6 months. Like, I'm working on X, Y, Z company's data. That's my elevator pitch.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening.
Great. Nate,
Did it make
Floyd.
sense?
It does.
Cool. It did make sense. Robert, and you do also audio tagging as well, or audio
a lot of NLP work, audio, image, anything, and that's the biggest difference in our model is that all of our employees are full-time in-house employees. So there's so many projects we get from clients that have just really high security or confidentiality needs that they either are not legally allowed to or just don't want to send it to a general anonymous crowd because the risk is just too high.
And the audio tagging, or labeling, is that like for like word recognition or?
Yeah, it can be a number of different things. Sometimes we'll do like time tagging where a client will want to know, at what point, in the call was this said or was this talked about. Maybe we'll transcribe the call and just be doing, different subjects for different points of time. Or, it can be for any kind of device you might interact with, like a voice assistant, stuff like that.
So it's not all about AI. Some of it is just about labeling for whatever the needs are.
Correct. I would say the majority, though, right now of what we do is definitely under the AI umbrella. Because think about it. Like you have cars, you want those to be able to think like a human, right? Not like a machine. So at some point, they need a human judgment or a human perspective of some sort.
Right.
That's where we come in.
That's awesome. Thank you. And your name?
Robert Freary.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure meeting you.
Great.
I feel like, I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but because of the social piece, like, it's a good thing to write about.
Yeah.
And beyond that, like, we're actually doing really well and working with some really cool companies.
Well, it's certainly a great niche, and it's really interesting to see how this problem is being addressed in different ways. It'd be a good topic.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
DeepSense.ai, big data science. We apply artificial intelligence to business solutions, developing the best AI model for your company.
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for stopping by.
Can I tell you a little bit about the company?
Sure. Yeah. How about the name?
Sorry, about the name?
The name of the company.
Indico. Actually, do you want to know why we have that name?
It's on the shirt.
Indico. Machine learning model actually came up with that name. We were started out of a dorm room, and my co-founders basically scraped and took the top 100 financial firms performing on the market and generated the most statistically successful machine learning company or tech company, and it spit out Indico. Yeah.
Really?
How you doing? But what we do, we exist to basically help our clients and it basically train accurate machine learning models with less data. So making more out of your data, basically. And the way that we do this is we use this approach called transfer learning right here. So 1/1000th of the data required, you can deploy it 10 times faster, and Thank you. And 90% reduction in operating costs. So we've got two areas of use cases. One is augmenting existing workflows, so like people in the back office, things like that. And the other one is people come to us with, hey, I've got a bunch of PDFs. I know there's signal in here. Help me find the signal. So we're really good at data discovery. So this is a data discovery tool I'm going to show you. Is everyone here familiar with net neutrality? And what's going on in net neutrality? So essentially, we've taken 8,000 of the FTC comments from their website, the net neutrality comments. We've scrubbed it, taken out the duplicates, and we've taken out the curse words.
Which was a substantial portion of the data set.
And we've put the data through our data discovery tool, and as you can see here, there's clusters appearing. So what you're not going to see in this demo is Slater and I spent an hour clicking around through these clusters, trying to find different themes. So the themes that we actually were able to pull out, there are 5 different themes, and you're going to see them happen right now. So utility, the notion that the internet is now utility, it's like water. And these are the comments that are actually being circled with the lasso. So he selects them and it's being incorporated into the model and it's being labeled as utility. So we're watching a model being trained right now, essentially. The next one is the internet, keeping it free and open, how net neutrality essentially and the relationship with the monopoly. We also have specific Ajit Pai comments. You can see this part of the map lights up. And if you're familiar, he has this big Reese's cup that he talks about a bunch, I believe. And typing that in, we have targeted clusters over here. So he selects that. He doesn't select the last one, doesn't want to include that in our training data. He presses apply, and we're going to actually see the model kind of assign different categories right before our eyes. So this is our data discovery tool, kind of finding unique themes that you might not have noticed before. And this is our data labeling tool. So say you wanted to approach the problem from a different angle, involve subject matter experts, and have them label your data. So this is a way for you to easily outsource that, so you can easily share, and then I'll notify you when they're done labeling. There's different kinds of label types, so classification, single label, multiple labels. We also have annotation, so giving us a PDF and highlighting different sections of the PDF in relation to different themes. So it really can be customized to whatever type of data that you're labeling. And this applies to text and image data. So the next screen, start labeling, and this is the actual labeling interface. So he's labeled, you can see high, medium, low. Question 2 out of 3. And then you export it, and you can then take that and then plug it into our custom collections, which will then train a pretty accurate model for you. Any questions? Reactions?
Pretty cool stuff.
Pretty cool? Yeah.
So was this like your main product, this labeling software?
Yeah, so we actually started off as a machine learning API shop, so a developer tool. And 3 years ago, or first 3 years, that was kind of our life, is this developer tool. And then since then, we've taken all of the technology that we've built and we're bringing it to enterprise, because we found that that's where we can really actually make an impact. And developers don't pay for things.
I have a friend at Merle who's a senior scientist over there who works with neural networks and stuff, and I'm seeing that the idea of labeling data is so huge right now to prepare
the data.
So you looking for work?
He just signed with Google, actually.
Oh my gosh, sure. Those salaries are very hard to compete with.
He sounds like he'd be perfect at our place then.
Right?
I think he would. Yeah, he's a great dude. But this would be an interesting subject for a podcast, just do these, because there's another labeling company over here.
Flower, I think.
Yeah,
something like that. They do data. They only do data labeling, I think. But I think the difference is there are a lot of companies that provide the manpower. I think they provide them. Two of them down. One down. Yeah, I saw their marketing marketing material, and I was like, wait, is that us? Oh, no.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so they supply the manpower. We just supply the software. So you'll have to find your own manpower. That would be the difference, I would say. But no, the new data labeling thing is really hot right now because without data, you can't really use machine learning.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's starting to be like, oh, we got to use machine learning. And now they're stepping back and be like, oh, wait, but first we need data.
Yeah.
Would any client ever pay for something like that? Like, at least it should be something you can relate to.
Yeah.
I can't relate that back to any what our clients have a lot of information on and what they would like to label. It seems like I could read through all the comments faster than I could label.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Adam has made an excellent marketing point about the last booth.
Or I'm just a downer.
That the use case was just way off. FCC website comments. That's what it was. I was even having trouble. I got what they were doing, but I didn't really get the what the topic was that they were filtering the data and labeling for.
All right.
Well, what's interesting is it's kind of like what my friend does at Crimson Hexagon, where they scour social media for certain keywords, and then they'll spit out information about your product for you based on how it's being perceived on social media.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, what is this?
Sure. So this one's already pulled up. So this is Algo. It's a workbot, so it helps answer business questions. So we get your data, we put it in. Sometimes it takes between 30 and 90 days for the team, and then you'll be able to answer questions. It answers it for you. You can have a conversation. It even pulls up a chart. We're with 7 Fortune 500 companies: Walmart, Best Buy, Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers. So you can ask different questions. It does the work for you. It saves you time.
Like, what can you ask?
So it has to be something that's already a company that we're with.
was all around sort of, and this is not a bot kind of.
So it's not a bot.
Analytics and
So
natural
let's
language
just say you
query
wanted to ask.
into that.
There's a bot that you can
Let's say you wanted to ask that question.
What are my sales versus shipments? Okay.
What are my sales versus shipments?
And the reason why
And
the
then
discussion
it'll
was
answer
very
and
sort
see
of
this chart.
bot because we were just in that session.
I mean, obviously,
This is instead of creating a chart that says sales versus shipments.
Yeah, and it should answer questions too, depending on how specific it is.
When I saw your presentation, I was just
Well, so our big thing is we've only been here for a year, so we're trying to get the name out there that it's a work bot. We coined that term. This is Algo. We're on Twitter.
I'm a little confused about what this product does. So you enter in the data, and then it's sort of just a way of reconfiguring data.
So it's good for forecasting too, or logistics, that kind of stuff. I mean, different companies I'm sure use it for different purposes too. I'm new, so Amjad and Jason did the demo earlier. They could just explain it more in depth or probably answer specifically.
Sure.
But so we coined the term workbot. He answers your business questions for you. I'm assuming it just makes it faster and answers the questions more accurate because it's your own data.
Right.
So instead of having people that have to put it together, it's very quick, as you can see. But it does take some time, but they're pretty quick about it.
Interesting.
We'll find you.
Great.
That sounds
So you're putting in the data, and then it lets you.
why
It
don't you just
sounds
make
like
a little chart
spreadsheet.
that says, what are my sales in
I know.
Best Buy? Why don't you
Not at
type it
all.
in and ask it?
You've already. I really don't get that one. This is big. This is I think what I would get into if it was Affectiva.
How are you?
Good.
How are you? I'm just recording a podcast for my company. We do it's like mobile and emerging tech.
Awesome.
Great. So Affectiva.
Yes.
So I recently did an episode with a friend of mine who's a scientist at Merle. And he's in neural networks, and he talked about where this is like the next step. So, what's your take on it?
So we are. So do you know who we are? Do you have a context of? Okay. So we're an emotion recognition technology company. So we actually, if you played with our demo, you'll see that we identify the landmarks on the face, and if those landmarks move, and then we'll map those facial expressions to emotions. And then you through our products, SDKs, APIs, can help technology understand human emotions. So you can see how this applies to companies like automotive, like what's the in-cab experience of a fully autonomous car inside the cab, social robotics, how people are interacting with conversational interfaces.
So when you say emotion enable an app, what is that? How do you do that?
It means if you're playing with an app and if you're enjoying it, you're happy and you have one experience. If you're frustrated or if you're confused, this is how you use
So
the
does it
app.
take your picture without you knowing it?
It does not take your... Well, all of our technology is opt-in. So it's using the camera. You know that it's using the camera.
It asks permission.
It asks permission, yep. And it's all... I mean, our data is all anonymized. It's aggregate. We don't save it. Like, there's no reason for us to do it. It's all happening real time on device.
So are there apps that you have it built in already that are already using yours?
Apps? I'm not off the top of my head. We have a lot of different use cases. The biggest of which is market research. So like Kantar Miller Brown uses our tech for testing ads. So did someone like an ad? Did they not? Instead of like physically saying, yes, I like that ad, like they laughed, and it eliminates that step. So that's kind of the idea. I mean, there's a lot of there's just tons of different verticals and apps, and we have one in healthcare that's using our SDK to identify like suicide prevention. So people are expressing emotion this way, and this is how you maybe head that off. Another healthcare example is Brain Power. So they use our tech in Google Glass, and it helps people with autism or on the spectrum identify and improve how they pick up emotion. So that's another really cool use case. So I don't know if these are answering your questions.
Yeah,
I'm just rattling
so are they
stuff off.
mostly consumer use cases or are there B2E?
Mostly, I mean, or B2B to understand consumer. Like we consider market research B2B to understand C. But yeah, our biggest challenge is focus, frankly. So we can do so many different things, and now we're just trying to narrow to those. Yeah.
So you sell the SDK?
Yep. So we have, this is actually more info on our SDK. It's free for 6 days, and then after that it's licensing. So it's for commercial, it's $25 per year, $25K per year. But everyone, we have a developer community that asks questions, there's a forum, and gets support that way, but yeah.
It's in a cylinder, but it's like an anode.
That's great. And I've definitely seen this in articles. I've seen screenshot of that.
Yes, we have had a lot of press this year.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, I think we have we were mentioned 147 times or something. It's insane. So this is a very hot, we call it emotion
technology to see if it was positive or not?
Well, it's text, so it's hard because there's no faces, but in theory, if someone was reading our article, well, we actually have just kind of released it. It's called Happy Cam. It's actually curious that you mentioned that. It's kind of doing that. So it's a web interface. I don't have any collateral on it because it's still kind of new. It's in beta, but it's Happy Cam, happy.cam, and it turns on the webcam, and based on what you're watching or what you're looking at on your screen, it captures selfies and it understands. You're most happy when you're looking at this content, not so much when you're looking at this. So that's kind of a cool. Yeah, our theory behind that is trying to make people happy again and encourage them to look at the stuff that makes them happy versus not.
Like puppies and kittens.
Yeah.
Are you working with Facebook at all?
Not currently.
No.
Maybe one day. We have a demo on our website. We have a demo on our website that uses Facebook. Like an intern built it, and it uses our tech to. How you have the live reactions of things. It uses our tech to automatically, if you're smiling at it, it creates a thumbs up or a heart. I think it's on our experience page of our website, so you can play around with that.
But even just to show what's going to be on your feed, in terms of your emotion.
Yeah, I mean, if you could eliminate that one click of, I like that, how much cooler would that be? How much faster you would be able to consume content.
So like things more fast.
Yep.
Good, how are you?
Yeah.
Ashley, thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you.
So Precision is a platform. There's two aspects, two focus. One is human behavior automation. So technology emerged from the Department of Defense that can automate human behavior, which is not, it's very difficult with techniques like deep learning and machine learning. And the other aspect of our platform is medical diagnostics. So we've kind of streamlined and automated the process going from medical images to creating a medical diagnostics product that clinicians can use in the clinic.
So automate human behavior. What does that mean? How does that...
So it's based on, automating human behavior is quite complex, and we only focus on the more complex behavior where you require human reasoning and intelligence.
Yeah.
It's really hard to extract that from just looking at patterns of behavior in data using machine learning or deep learning. So we've got a technique based on behavioral science and psychology that can map that cognitive process and codify that to software using a similar architecture.
Wow.
And that underpinned a previous business that we had around predicting human behavior, which we worked around the world in 6 different industries, and we sold to Ernst & Young a couple of years ago.
Wow, amazing. Do you have like an example of like a use case?
The use case we've got here is in medical diagnostics. So we've used the platform to create for a business, Life Whisperer. That's a joint venture with a company called Monash IVF. And we use AI to better select embryos to improve outcomes for couples wanting to have children. So what it does is help us identify which embryos that are more viable to implant into the female, which is critical for a successful IVF outcome.
So this is not related to automating human behavior.
It isn't. So we launched in February. So we're trying to focus in financial services and still looking for that first joint venture. So we don't consult with the platform or license it out. We joint venture with companies that have a significant problem internally, but that problem needs to be industry-wide, and we create a global product. So this Life Whisperer product has a market potential of $42 billion. So that's a better, value proposition for businesses wanting to work with us.
So what would be a use case for automating human behavior?
It could be back office tasks. So for example, when we were acquired by Ernst & Young, our guys' productivity dropped by 30%. They were doing a lot of administrative tasks like travel, expense sheets, CRM entries. All of those tasks do require human involvement because it requires reasoning intelligence, but that can easily be automated using this type of platform.
John, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. We're looking at universal robots. Scott, what do you think about this?
That is pretty cool, Steve.
That's pretty cool. It's hard to describe. We're looking at the kind of robot you might see on like an auto assembly plant or something, but it's just the size of a coffee table. Tiny. I guess that's the differentiator, is the size.
Sure, it's impressive. I'd say it's a 5-axis arm.
Yeah.
Plugs into a regular wall power supply.
So we'll all have home robots that make our breakfast and a la like modern times and so forth.
Let's hope so.
It's amazing how small that is.
It's all natural language understanding of unstructured data. So, did you get that? Here, I'll hang on to it while you...
Yeah, one more time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, it's called cognitive computing.
Yeah.
But it's having the ability to go into unstructured data and understanding the meaning of words and context. So I use the example of the words stock and apple, and I said I have 10,000 apples in stock. Right. I'm talking about produce.
Yeah.
But if I said I bought 10,000 shares of stock in Apple, I'm talking about financial services. Having the ability to understand those words in a contextually correct way is at the core or the base of the solution.
How exactly is it? Because I've been talking a lot with people who are doing data labeling and things like that.
Data labeling is, most of the technologies I've seen, data labeling is a manual effort.
Right, exactly.
Then you jump into keywords, and you use a technology that looks for keywords or maybe combinations of terms, and then they tag it because those terms exist, but they may not be contextually correct. In my example of apples in stock and stock in apple, a keyword engine would look at that as meaning the same thing.
Right.
So then you get to machine learning, and to train the algorithms which version of the words are being talked about, you need very large training sets
that consistently represent the data, right, to train the algorithms. The challenge there is it's very difficult to find data sets to do the training large enough to get it really good. Now, if you had training sets that represented the data the way you want it to consistently, then that's a great technology for that approach. Now, what we do is we have a combination of linguistics and a language ontology. So it doesn't need to be trained. From day one, it understands words contextually correct.
Okay.
Now, the applications for that are in pharmaceutical, life sciences, banking, oil and gas, media and publishing. They're across many, many industries.
So there's a couple of businesses here who are news sources that are using, articles that are out there as a way to train AI. So does your stuff kind of make that unnecessary, or?
Correct. Yeah, the training is not required.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy who came by earlier, and he's trying to build a solution to understand internal chat conversations, internal employee conversations. And he said that the proof of concept is 6 months. And I said, why so long? And he said, because we have to collect all the training data first. And we have to train all the algorithms first. And his question to me is, how long would it take for you guys to get a proof of concept up and rolling? And I said, a couple weeks.
Yeah. It's just a matter of installing the software.
And then indexing the data, the content. Yeah, our biggest part of an initial deployment is understanding the use case. So we're understanding the outcome they're looking for, and then deploying the software and then indexing their data. And then we start tagging it automatically from the beginning. So we don't need that big training effort.
I see. Amazing.
And that's the kind of like the Achilles heel of machine learning that people don't want to talk about.
the time, effort of training,
finding the data.
Like putting junk food into a small child, whatever you feed it is what it's going to have that biased outcome.
Yeah.
Right. If I feed Natalie sugar, which I do, my 6-year-old, you're going to get bad outcome. If you feed it a multitude of things, you're going to have a more rounded, learning.
So do you think that, ultimately all these systems will pull from the same data sources and we'll just have, a massive data source? Because it seems kind of odd that we would have all these, discrete data sources when we're all talking about, the English language.
I think what will happen is the companies will meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's some banks I'm talking with right now, and they have a senior VP of AI, or actually 2 senior VPs of AI. One focuses on machine learning, and one focuses on natural language understanding. And I'm having conversations with both, and they both openly admit they kind of need to come together. Because machine learning is the best application for some things. Natural language understanding is the best for other. But then many of them are kind of somewhere in the middle. They use a little bit of both. And that's, I think, where ultimately we'll be. A little bit of both.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Nice talking with you.
So UiPath, I'm guessing that this is UI for robotics. Is that right? Well, I was just over at the robotics booth over there, and he had a tablet, and the UI was pretty bad. Just looking at it, because I'm a UX guy, and so is that specific?
So what you find unique about us is we allow you to create an automated workflow, okay, with a drag and drop interface.
Yeah,
so you love it.
That was drag and drop.
So you're a .NET guy, you're going to love this. We have over 300 pre-programmed functions that you can drag and drop to create that workflow. Anything like if you want to click an OK button or fill in a text box, again, all that functionality you just do is a keyword search. The options come up, you drag and drop that into your workflow, you create your automated workflow.
Now, how do you get your stuff, what robots will your stuff work with? I mean,
we're software based, right? So we're deployed, across the network.
Are you able to generalize it to work with a wide range of robots, or how does that work?
So when you say work with robots, what do you mean?
So maybe I'm misunderstanding what you guys do. What do you guys build?
So we build a software that allows you guys to automate processes that are on the computer. So everything is software related.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So step one is software. There's no R2D2.
Right.
Step two.
Okay.
Step two is we provide the complete platform, including the ability to scale. It allows you to take processes and begin the efforts to create automations.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, like, what kind of tasks would you automate? Have, like, some use cases?
Sure. So I think what's playing on the screen right now is a pretty good example of one of the more robust use cases. So I start with an Excel spreadsheet with a couple lines and takes that information. It's like a name, last name, and email. And it goes into the terminal application and goes through and finds some information there. Then goes into Salesforce, checks if that email is tied to an account already. If it doesn't, it'll create that account. Then it goes into SAP and another application called Expense, or like the Expense application within SAP. And basically takes information from all of that and fills out this templated Word document with the correct information, and then sends an email with that Word document as an attachment.
This is really interesting. So my company is Propelics. We do mobile strategy for large enterprises, but a lot of times we'll do things like we'll redesign their software to be more usable.
Yeah,
no matter what
like
it is.
Six Sigma stuff.
Yeah. So there are times when we're unable to streamline stuff because our clients actually wind up doing a lot of this a lot of the time, going from one site to another site, cutting and pasting data, and just totally inefficient processes. And I can see where this would be maybe a good Band-Aid, where if we can't streamline it, we can at least do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. How long you guys been around?
So we kind of boomed in two years ago, give or take. Before that, we were a company called Deskover and building SDK libraries for other automation companies. Then we realized we can just do this ourselves.
Yeah.
So the right path was born.
And are you have a Mac iOS version?
So we don't. We're completely Windows.
All Windows.
So if you have a Mac, you have to be through Parallels and running Microsoft.
All right, Alessio, thanks a lot.
No problem.
Really appreciate it. Thanks. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So, data robots, what do you guys do?
So we're a data analytics company with a machine learning platform, so we do predictive modeling. So basically, if you have a historical data set, something you're looking to predict, you upload it into the software, give it its prediction, press the start button, and in minutes you'll have 40 to 50 models for your prediction.
Do you have a use case example that you can give me?
Do you want to talk a little bit about use case?
A use case? Yeah. What line of business are you in?
So I work for Propelics. We're a mobile strategy consultancy.
Yep.
We work with large enterprises, just helping them develop their mobile apps.
Sure.
Or update software. Things. We do a lot of different services like that.
So a good use case that comes to mind is highly targeted marketing, right? So a big problem when it comes to marketing is the CAC, right? The cost of acquisition, the customer acquisition cost, right? When you're putting your resources to the wrong customer base or the wrong prospecting base, then you're not. First of all, you're pissing off people, right? Because I don't want to receive this, and I'm not the right target audience, right? So one use case for Data Robot is predicting whether or not a specific marketing is going to land well on someone, right? So now you can run predictions on that specific user set, right? So you can say, all right, we want to go after 60 to 30-year-olds or whatever the case may be. Now you can run highly accurate predictions, and now you can focus your attention on that segment of the market. So now you don't deploy marketing dollars to the wrong side of people, right? So
great example.
But there's use cases across practically every vertical on the planet today. We work with the New York Mets, for their draft analysis. We work with banks for fraud prevention. Obviously, customer loans. Is someone going to be likely to default on a loan or not? So you name it. As long as you have data to support and for the algorithms to learn off of, then you'll be able to make very accurate predictions and in a fraction of the time.
So where do you get the data?
So that's from the customer, right? So the customer will have a whole... Think about the era of big data, right? You've heard this, big data, right? So the thing is, customers are sitting on treasure troves of data. The problem is there's not enough data scientists in the marketplace for them to be able to mine that information, that knowledge off of that data. And so what Data Robot does is it democratizes predictive analytics, right? So now for the first time ever, you don't need a data scientist necessarily to be able to run these predictive models. You can have a business analyst, you can have an executive, you upload the data, hit start, and it starts to generate a whole bunch of different models, automatically determining which is the best model for your specific use case. So that's the beauty of the platform.
Very cool. Freddie, I'm just recording a podcast on mobile and emerging technology. Cool. This looks really great.
This is awesome stuff, yeah.
How long have you guys been around? I mean,
since 2012.
2012, that's really early.
Yeah, it's really early. Right? Very highly venture-backed company, 150 million in the bank, and working now with some of the biggest clients in the world, so across every vertical. So 2018 is going to be a fantastic year for us.
It seems really promising.
Yes,
really great.
Definitely. Well, absolutely. Take care. See you.
VoiceBase, what do you guys do?
So VoiceBase is a speech analytics for the cloud company. We have our own neural network-based speech engine. And what we do is we take spoken information, whether it's an enterprise call center, whether it's a conferencing company, whether it's a video provider, and we take that and via RESTful API, we transcribe spoken information from speech to text, and then we pull out keyword analytics, we spot keywords, and then additionally on top of that, we do some machine learning and artificial intelligence where we actually auto-detect events that are happening. So, for example, was this call a hot lead? Was the agent following script? Is the customer upset? Is this customer going to leave my business? We can provide near real-time event detection for those events.
So it's all about interpreting the customer's data?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you also building up your own stores of data?
So, great question. Mostly all the models that we built are customer-centric and they're customized for that customer, but we do have some general purpose models. Yeah. The main one being it's called PCI, detection and redaction, and that's where we identify spoken information of credit card information, and we zap that out of not only the recording, but the transcript as well. So a lot of insurance companies and financial institutions, they're required to store transcripts and the recordings, but compliantly, where that credit card information is not being stored.
Interesting. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the trends around here, it's all about analyzing data and identifying data so that it becomes useful for AI engines and so forth. And it sounds like everybody is their own discrete analysis.
Yeah.
When really they should all be together, right?
And that's what's really great about the new API ecosystem is that you can do that, right?
Yeah.
And there's other companies on the floor here that use VoiceBase, and you might not ever know it because they just white label the speech engine and they put their own. So most of the companies that we power, they do their own machine learning. They just use our engine to power that.
Right.
So it's a fun space to be in.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff. JP, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Take my card, Jimmy.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thank you. And you're SFL Scientific.
There you go, yeah. We are a professional services consulting company, and we are the only consulting company you find here, and in most other shows.
Right, yeah.
Right? You don't find many, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's why we're here. Maybe sort of the oddball out.
And so what do you guys do?
We do professional services in data science and AI. So we try to break the problems by data type, so by image, time series, text, NLP, and some sort of catch-all, which is business intelligence or your crazy research type of project that doesn't fit anywhere, right? So images can be disease detection, can be pathology, can be insurance, can be driverless cars. Time series can be IoT, cybersecurity, anomaly detection, energy prediction. Text can be contract intelligence, can be sentiment analysis, anything in between, right? OCR and whatnot. And then BI is your predictive analytics, your user recommendation segmentation. and whatnot. And we have a client that's 3D printing organs.
So are you guys using some of these other companies?
No, we
to-
develop everything from scratch.
Really?
Our guys, will sit with our clients and go full Monty. From the strategy, what they need, where do we begin, what data, metadata, what infrastructure to get, to the big data engineering, like what pipeline do you have, microservices, how do you scale, horizontally, vertically, whatever, to the consumption layer. You want dashboards, you don't, you want the yes and no, what is it that you need?
So you're doing text analysis, image analysis, video analysis, audio?
Yep.
Audio analysis too? Everything?
If it's data, we will take a peek at it.
All right. That's great. That sounds like a big bite.
It's a big bite. I mean, the data types are common across different verticals, right? So if you're doing the image analysis in insurance, you might as well do image analysis in pathology, right? Like if you're doing if you're doing time series for IoT, you might as well do anomaly detection. The techniques are the same, right? But one will be used for cybersecurity, one will be used by IoT type of devices. Right?
How long have you guys been around?
About 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
That's great. How's business? Good? I can imagine it must be.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, for you to be able to consolidate all those different data sources and provide services for all of them must be really
it's going nuts.
hugely desirable. Daniel, thanks a lot.
Nice to
Appreciate
meet
it. They'll do like one thing. These other booths, so they're like, we analyze audio.
We label.
These guys, SFL, they're like, we'll do anything. We'll do audio analysis. We'll do like image analysis, video analysis. And they built it all in-house, he said.
Really?
I'm like, are you using these other guys' products? He's like, no, we built it all ourselves. Like, okay, wait, so you're like 6 of these other companies. It's crazy. I don't know.
So how do you deal with like algorithm bias?
They weren't done 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
have an answer to that.
Adam?
Well, I think the thing is, though, is the algorithm bias is one of the things that they're looking for, and that's why they have like these discrete data sets, because there is that bias. Because I asked the guy at IBM, why don't we just have a massive data set that everybody can pull from? And he said that they get more accurate results if they just drill down to like one client's data set.
Before we're on the record, let's invite you to our open bar cocktail hour here.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
There's the business card to go with it. All right.
A legion?
A legion, like a legion of workers, right?
Yeah.
So we do high volume data labeling and annotation, computer vision, image segmentation, things like that. Anything that you need metadata or labeling or annotation at very high volumes, okay? Yeah. So we take that volume of work and pass it to kind of armies of workers, like similar to Mechanical Turk. So we would use Amazon's Mechanical Turk and other crowds like that to actually do the work. But our software is what passes it out and preserves the quality of it. So we have IP built into the software to guarantee quality for the customers, because what they're after is training data to train their AI algorithms.
Right.
So they might be trying to create a computer vision application, and they need someone to look at 50,000 photos and identify all the vehicles in those photos and categorize them to the type of vehicle so that they can train their algorithm, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, they might have us come in and help score the output of that algorithm, right? And pass, fail, or correct, how it's doing. And then at the end, kind of long tail exception handling. So if the algorithm's under 90% confident, it might hand it to us, and we would have a real human make the decision so it could go to the customer.
So is it all image analysis, or?
No, we'll do any type of media, right? So. So we will do images or audio or video, whatever the digital asset is of the customer.
Yeah.
And then we'll also do do data extraction. So we'll go to the internet and do actual extraction if they need us to. Anything that we can quantify into a micro task for a worker, you know?
Yeah, sure.
If we can put it on a web page and ask and task a worker to do it, then we can do it, right? So
do you have like your own custom software that
we do.
you developed? Or?
So that's what we have. So we're a software as a service platform that sits on top of these work groups, right? So we will provide an API to the customers who then can pass in programmatically their content in real time. We will pass it out to workers, right? One or many workers, and pass the answer back programmatically to the customer. So our software handles all of the quality and all of the work assignments, you know. So we're basically a black box full of humans that sits inside other people's workflow, right?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there's kind of a few like different iterations of your kind of company here today. And like my big question has been like, the goal is like to just create like an enormous data set, right? I mean,
an enormous labeled data set.
An enormous labeled data set.
The goal is to provide ground truth structure to your data, okay? So if you're going to train an algorithm, and this algorithm has to mimic human intelligence, then the ground truth data, the supervisory training data that you train it with, you have to know is correct. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? And you're going to end up with a poorly formed artificial intelligence because you trained it poorly, right? Yeah. And so we will take the source data that you have, or we will go find new source data. That happens a lot too. And we will guarantee the quality of that data and append the structure that needs to be there, right?
Is that what you see as your differentiator?
Yeah, our differentiator is probably our flexibility. Okay, we can make our platform and our worker population adapt to the structure that you require within your content, right? So a lot of our competitors will have a very fixed kind of taxonomy and structure in which you have to interact with, and then you have to adapt to your own application. We will take the requirements of your application, and we can mold our crowd tasks to absolutely just return back the data in the structure that you require. Use your own taxonomy, use your own labeling structure, and things like that. So we're very flexible. The other thing that we will differentiate is we wrap all of our services, all of our products in a service that we deliver to you. So you don't have to become crowdsourcing experts. You don't have to become data labeling experts if you don't want. If all you really need is structured data to train your algorithm, we will take on the onus of quality and just be the pain pill for that, right? And that's really kind of where we excel.
I see. But like, I feel like we're in this like early period in the evolution of this technology, because the goal is just to create one massive data set of like all information. It sounds like right now everybody's kind of creating these little discrete sets of data for each client.
People have their data fiefdoms, right? I mean, you have the companies like Google and things like that are trying to create these giant open data sets, right? Where they're learning and making money on people's utility of these giant open data platforms out there. But a lot of these companies, some of our biggest customers are like financial services companies and defense contractors and communication, who their data is very private. And so data that in facets of their data or nuances that will help in their decision making, they keep very private, right? And so they're not on the train of just one big open data mart out there. You know, they want to build a very specific tool for a very specific purpose for their industry, right? So we can do it both ways. We have workers that are public anonymous workers, you know, where it doesn't matter who sees the data because it's public data, but we also will deal with very sensitive data where the workers have to sign NDAs and work from secure terminals and things like that. Depends on what the customer and their requirements are.
Thank you. It's a great explantion. It's been bugging me all day.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
thanks
take
a lot. Great. You guys want to say anything for the podcast about your experience here at AI World?
Oh, I had a great experience, Steve. I got...
Ooh, what's that? I didn't get that.
I got this awesome thermos.
What? That's a thermos?
Thermos cup.
Oh, I need a thermos cup.
And look at this.
A spinner?
Yeah.
Nice.
I did some
gotta
work.
grab one of these
I did some work
thermos
today.
cups. Where's
It's good.
Elite? Look at what I got.
Back corner.
Look at this.
A little cam cover?
It's a little cam cover.
Hey, see, I wouldn't mind that, you know? You know how many times I've joined Zoom meetings and the camera just pops up in my
That's a
face?
good point.
It throws me off.
That's an excellent use case. Excellent use case for that.
You can close it and then use it when ready.
And just slide it over. These guys are they're saying that it's not actually a cover though. That it's actually gonna like take the video feed and send it to these guys.
Oh,
expert system.
That would be an expert move. This is what that would be.